Hi, welcome to the Pole Shift News. Guys, something a little bit different today. I'm on the government's official national statistics website, and yeah, okay, it is the government's statistics, and what I think they're putting out is nothing short of an elaborate lie. You know, it's saying that the unemployment rate is at 4.4%, and I think it's a lot higher than that. I think it's probably realistically around 25%. I'd say much. I think they've got it wrong. I mean, it's like everything on these statistics. I think that this is in the hope that people will believe what they're saying. You know, I think this government wants people to believe what they're doing is a good job and that they're doing, you know, correct governance. Again, I from what I see and interpret, it's completely different. I'll just give you, for instance, you know, I've said in a couple of videos back that I've been looking for a job since Christmas now. We're in March on the 20th this month. We're nearly in the 4th month of the year. And just yesterday I put out 42 CVs for jobs. And I consider myself, you know, an intelligent person. Okay. I don't think that my age, or at least I think my age is putting people off at being at 44, but you know, I've got qualifications in science, that includes chemistry, physics, biology, earth science, you know, as well as a lot of other things. And then on top of that, law, and then senior management, even at chairs level. So, you know, I've got experience of having my own businesses, previous years, and, you know, negotiating and sales on top of that. On top of what you've seen me, guys, do as well, you know, being able to, you know, build electronics, program them, and, you know, get this little observatory that we've got here up and running, as well as build a website. So, you know, I think I've got a lot of skills to offer a company, yet, despite mentioning all these in my curriculum vitae, no interviews. And the problem is that there is a saturation of labour in the UK at the moment. There is just way too many people, and there is like a factory just churning out every year more people with more qualifications. And where are they all going? They're all going to, in the majority of the cases, to low-paid work. I think it's a real shame. It's not just that, guys. It's where the attention is of the majority of people. And I think most people would rather watch somebody on YouTube like PewDiePie. I think the statistics speak for themselves. He's got 66 million subscribers, as opposed to, you know, something educational, something that's really happening in the world. Like, you know, the Pole Shift, for instance, only having 12,500. You know, I'm not jealous of the fact that PewDiePie has got 66,000 views. I'm just saying, look at the content of what people are more likely to be interested in watching. And then, you know, where the majority of people's mindsets are and what they're focusing on and what's important for them. For them, it's a little bit of a release and probably a laugh and a joke, and, you know, PewDiePie delivers that for them. You know, people aren't interested in anything above the clouds. They're not interested in a lot of cases, anything out of their own streets. You know, they couldn't care anymore. People have lost, in my view, their path in life. You know, I mean, I'm saying that because I'm passionate about some of the things we talk about on this channel, but I just see it as, you know, a dwindling light, this channel. You know, I know that the majority of people are interested, and, you know, the majority of people, sadly, are just not even aware of this problem. Less than 1%, less than 0.00% of the people are aware even of the pole shift. Can you believe that? This is one of the rarest events ever to happen in human history, and it's taking place right now, and nobody really cares about it. They couldn't care whether we were going into a glacial period next week. As long as this week they go about their business normally, and I think what it is, you know, we'll all face the troubles together at the same time. Well, you know, in that case, it will be the Titanic sinking, and everybody will be on board going to the bottom of the ocean, if that's the mentality that people have, and they do have it, trust me. I'm trying to change a few things for myself. You know what? I'm getting sick and tired of sending out this quantity of CVs and getting nowhere. You know, I do realise that things have changed, and I've seen the changes myself over the periods of time of probably 20 years. I've seen everything go over to the internet, and I think, you know, it can be a good thing. It is obviously a bad thing as well. I'll say why it's a bad thing and why it's a good thing. It's a bad thing because we've lost the high street shops in the UK, a lot of them, and just to mention a couple of others, they're not really shops that, well, I would say if you're in the UK you definitely have heard of these shops. Maplins has gone and Toys R Us has gone. I think you'll remember Woolworths. It was a store that was a chain of stores for hundreds of years. They're going, and the reason why they're all going is because these people pay rates. They pay rent, electricity and staff. It's lost business to the internet simply because anyone with a garage that can handle a small amount of stock can trade at half the cost of what the high street stores can. It's a bad thing because it's ended up losing jobs. We're losing more jobs now, not just to technological advancements such as robotics and things like that. We're losing it to things like in the retail industry. We're losing it to the internet, and it's costing jobs. And at a time where we've increased the population on this planet, we've increased the technological advancement, which reduces the labour force, and here we are, stuck with a situation where the only two ways to obtain any money in this system is either via benefits or a job. If you can't get a job, you're going to be plunged into poverty on benefits. Or you're going to have to find yourself reinventing yourself somewhere along the line to do that. I'm in that situation now. I've asked a few of the people who are in similar situations to me, and I know they're like-minded people, to come and have a think tank meeting this week. And let's see what, the four of us can come up with. Because we're all, like I say, like-minded people. I would say we are go-getters as opposed to just talkers. If we want to do something, we usually go out there. I think I've proved that with you guys. I didn't even know how to put some electronics together. All my knowledge of electronics before I built the TriMag station was very limited a couple of years ago. But just through perseverance, I managed to do it. I didn't fail in the task in that. And, we've now advanced to a magnetosphere sensor. Had a few technical problems, but we're getting ahead of the game. But we're going to get together this week, and we're going to look at some form of business online. And you guys probably aren't going to hear about what our discussion's going to be about, and where we're probably going to be investing some more of our time. Maybe what little funds we've got we'll put together. And who knows? I mean, it might just be a good opportunity to discuss current climate of the way things are at the moment in this country, and just push a few ideas over a table, over a coffee. But I'm hoping that we can come together and come up with a good idea that we can sacrifice or put into action, and that might help my situation. Something needs to change is what I'm saying, guys. I built as much as I could for this channel, and it's just not really going anywhere. The subscribers have gone up by around 700-800 since Christmas, but it's just not making any progress. And the reason why that is because it's just not commercial enough. It's not making any money at all. I can't rely on the odd bit of help I get now and then. It's just not enough. It's not a wage. It's nowhere near a wage, and it's never going to be a wage. Yeah, it's a shame. It really is, because I think the website now has been better than it ever has done. It's got lots of data on there. Let me just get up our website while I'm talking, so we can see. I mean, it's got solar activity. And it covers live magnetometer data from other organisations such as NASA, NOAA, ESA, etc. You know, we've even got our own data which we developed ourselves, the TriMag data, and nobody out there is showing you, you know, monthly reports on how the progression of the migration is going. Yet the thing is, guys, you put a link up on this website like I have, you know, help support Poleshift News, and people just don't. If it was a jar of coffee they needed for the groceries, they would definitely buy it. But this is something that they can live with or without, and because of that, it's just going to stay where it is. I mean, it's up for the next 5 years, so you know, I'll leave the material up there and try and update as much as what I can. With regards to the TriMag and the magnetosphere sensors, I'll put the data up, you know, every month on those. But I think if the time's come to, you know, put my time into something more productive for me and my family, and you know, that's what I'm going to be doing. You know, I can't hang around because, like one of the subscribers said, and you know, Gore, thank you very much, you know, for that little sentence you put there about time being more important than anything, because it is our most valuable asset. And you're right, money isn't, but you know, we live at the same time in a monetary system, and without money, you know, some people would rather cut their throats than not have anything at all. Sometimes you get into that despair, you know, where, you know, if you've got no money, you can't experience anything. You can't take your family out for even a simple meal and a little afternoon. You can't do nothing. You can't put fuel in your car, you know, and things just deteriorate. You know, we are in a digression as far as I'm aware and concerned. We're in a massive digression on a whole of a lot of things, guys. Not only is the climate getting worse, but the attitudes of people likewise are getting worse. Nobody cares anymore, really, or very few people care. You know, they're more interested in, you know, soap series, what's happening in Coronation Street, what happened in EastEnders, and did you see this last night on telly? And, you know, even such things as the Gogglebox, which I couldn't find anything more wasteful to do with your time and watch somebody watching TV on TV. Could you believe it? And yet, this holds the attention of millions of people in the UK. It just shows you where we are at this level of advancement in our history. We've never had so much, yet the majority of people would rather scratch their heads with their feet up on the sofa, having a great big plate of chips and pie, stuffing their arteries up with cholesterol and whatever else have you, and vegetate looking at the iPhone, you know, making little bits of banter backwards and forwards on, you know, social media, and, you know, comments to family members. It's just, where have we gone? Eh? Or it's just a waste of opportunity. We have wasted everything, and to me, it doesn't seem like, you know, we're going to get any better than what we are at now. Over the last 20 years in this country, NHS, as you probably know if you're British, has gone down the pan. You know, it's a skeletal of the service it used to be. There is no more meat left on it. It is a poor quality service. Anything that comes from the government now is just trash. Look what they've done in this country. We are the 7th richest country in the world. We have a commonwealth of countries all over the world, Canada, Australia, as well as all other countries. You know, we've got one of the, like I say, we are the 7th richest country in the world. And you know what? My government, Theresa May, who's in charge of our government, regurgitates policies such as what they have done with the universal credits, plunging people into poverty, and as a result, over 120,000 people have died. Can you believe that? This is more deaths than any terrorist single event, or even combined over the last 5 years. Just get your head around that. And this government aren't interested in changing their policies to prevent more people dying by their policies. What they're more interested in doing is trying to fight domestic terrorists. They're wondering why they've got domestic terrorists in this country when some people, all they can afford to do is put a little bit of electricity and gas on in their house, and the simplest of foods. What's happening is they have reversed the living standards of this first world country into a third world country. Yes, trust me guys, there are people in this country living on staples of rice, flour, etc. in this day and age. And these pigs that run this country are more interested in stealing the taxpayers' money. Remember guys, if you're a crook and you want the biggest windfall ever, then there's not going to ever be a bigger windfall than controlling the taxpayers' money. Those of you that are out there at work know how much you taxed national insurance and tax in this country, as well as all the other countries you come from. It's all the same. And trust me, there is a pig crook at the top of the chain wherever you go. And it is just this small amount of people that have wrecked this world to the condition it is in today, and stole all of those opportunities of experiences from the 7 billion souls on this planet. Can you believe that? And you know what? We have pretty much allowed them to do it without any hindrance, and they're happy. And the truth of the matter is that, you know, you're probably like me. You don't mind a little bit of corruption, as long as it doesn't come filtering down into our living rooms. Well, guys, we've been slow-boiled frogs for many years, and trust me, the filtering and the pilfering that's been going on is in our living rooms and has been for a long time. You know, we see food going up, we see the energy costs going up, we see petrol going up, we see the insurance and everything else. Those things that if you do not have them, you are breaking the law in some cases. They have all gone up through the roof. Yet they think by, you know, pushing the employer's arm a little bit to increase the wage by £1 will make all the difference for us. It doesn't. You know, over the last few weeks of witnessing what's took place with just the weather in this country, the beast from the east, quote, elderly people have had to burn some of their furniture to keep warm in their houses because they can't afford to keep the gas on or the electricity. That's the reality of the policies of these governments in our modern world. It is a disgrace. And it shouldn't be allowed to happen, and yet it is going on all the time. We've got, they've protected themselves. They've got a massive assortment to dispense on us. You know, they've got the police force, which has got dog units, armed police. You know, they've got civilian police, the airport police, rail police. You know, they've got helicopters. And after all this, they've got the legal system, which is designed not to be penetrated. What they did in this country is they took legal aid away so that we could not fight the government on their issues where they know they are blatantly wrong. By removing legal aid, it meant that this government could be more of a dictatorship than what it has been before. So nobody has got any legal grounds now to fight the government back. You know, they've got an army, they've got an air force, they've got a navy. What individual in this fragmented community which they have orchestrated? And they trust me guys, by giving you free Facebook, by giving you free TV and free soap series and this, that and the other, if you think they have not put their message in your head, then you're wrong. Because the governments of today are very much dictators. And they make me laugh, because they go on about removing people like Saddam Hussein, who was a dictator. Yet they go in the same breath dictate. Let me tell you something. There isn't a government on this planet that isn't a dictator. It's just who you want to interpret as your dictator, as opposed to the other leader. One person's leader will be another person's dictator, trust me on that. Do you want to know what the nature of the beast is, or the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is money. It states in the Bible, you will either have it in your forehead or in your palm of your hand, the mark. And what that means is you will either have the cash to spend, or you will be thinking of ways to obtain the cash to spend. And without any of it, you won't be able to buy or sell at all. Let me tell you something. I don't think it is right that they are deliberately trying to collapse the system, but they are going to collapse the system, going about things the way they are, and it is coming about very quickly. Trust me. If you cut off the means for the majority of people in the world, because it's not just related to the British government, this is the United States, Canada, you name it, everywhere. If you cut off the means for the majority of the people to have a little extra expenditure cash, then what you're going to do is collapse e-commerce across the world. You're going to collapse businesses, because that little bit of extra cash is what people spend on other things, such as iPhones, computer, laptops, furniture, not just the basics. If they can only afford the basics, then all these companies that produce these things are going to go out of business. And what will be left will be what people feel is the most necessity. And at the end of the day, that will be the roof over their head. Until they lose that, then it will be food in their belly and water. And when they lose that, trust me, they will lose it. There is going to be blood in the streets at some point in the near future. That is, if, this earth does not destroy its inhabitants through natural causes and means. But I tell you this, when people lose everything, they will lose it. And at that point, it is going to look worse than Mad Max. It's going to look worse than barbarians running around the streets. We've already seen it in some of these, other world countries. We've seen them, hijack a truckload of chickens. 40 or so people on motorbikes are forcing the trucks to the side of the road, and you wouldn't believe it, but they are stealing live chickens out the back of this truck and running down the road. That's what I've seen. Opening fire on a truck carrying grain, killing the driver for what's on the back, and that's just for food. This is what people will do. And if you think it cannot happen in a country like this, just have a look at what's happened in the recent years in some of the European countries that have gone through these civil wars and wars with neighbouring countries through, different beliefs and reasons. Have a look what's happening in the Ukraine. I think it's a good example of a city falling to bits. And this was brought about by third-party countries getting involved in its politics. We're subjected to companies that are deliberately monopolising certain areas of business so that they can control it all. And the way they do it is they offer it really cheap. They buy up all the companies that produce one product or similar products, and once they own the monopoly on the market, then they put the prices up. You got no choice, if you're accustomed to buying that stuff, to buy it off them. And that's why they do well. I think, I'm not sure of the guy's name, he's a billionaire, but he says, I invest in monopolies, that's all I invest in. And the reason for that is you can't lose, really, can you? If you're investing in a company that has a strategic plan to buy up all the companies and then raise the prices in a short period of time, once it's cornered the market in that area, then it's going to obviously thrive, isn't it? Especially if people have become accustomed to the products that that company sells. And this is what's happening now. Stocks and shares and futures, well, they've removed the Glass-Steagall Act, which protected the consumer. Now there's no, you've seen it, what happens. The resetting of prices at the beginning of a new day just because they lost too much or another company gained too much. That's manipulation. This sort of thing's not supposed to be able to happen, but it does. It's like going into a casino and them saying you can win what you want, but once you win too much, they say no, we've got a benchmark that over the £5,000 you can't take any more, regardless of the fact you have cleaned us out and took £1 million. You're only going to take a maximum of 5,000 out, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is the sort of behaviour we've got. They don't realise what they're doing. I'm sure they don't. But what's coming down the road is not going to be pleasant for any of us at the end of the day. So, for now, guys, I can say that there is, if you're in a similar situation to me, perhaps a little glimmer of hope that you might be able to set something up on the internet, and I think it has to be that way now, because we can compete with the bigger companies for now. But trust me, it won't be long before monopolies sweep up the internet. This, once it's established and it's a worked plan, proven, method, it's not easy. It's not too hard for these people to move it from one division to the next. So for now, all I'm saying is, it does seem to me that there is a way, possibly, to compete with some of these services that companies offer and products that they offer. And you might, if you're in a situation similar to me, think about doing something along those lines. I don't think we need to go on any more than what we have done in this video. Trust me, guys, on this last note, there isn't a silver lining beyond the cloud in the future. It's very dull. I'm a scientist. My forte is charts, statistics, data. I showed you this 4 years ago, this very chart we're looking at right now with the sunspots dropping off, and I said what was going to happen. I started digging deeper and deeper, and I come across other like-minded scientists like myself that predicted the exact same thing to happen. This on top of a magnetic reversal, on top of this behaviour that humans on the majority whole are showing, will lead to nothing more than disaster. Doesn't matter how long it takes. I said that these people that make up less than 1% will be on the crow's nest when the ship sinks, and they will be the last ones to have their feet touch water when it happens. Before that, the rest of us will go through the worstest kinds of poverty because of the reluctance to dump what should have been dumped tens of years ago, and that is the monetary system. Because you cannot have an increasing population and at the same time a technological advancement, because one will take the jobs away from the other, and if you're dependent on a monetary system, how are people going to get their hands on money for the basics? We're all going to end up at some point getting used to the taste of rice, because for pretty much most of us, that's all we're going to be able to have at the end of this. I mean, there's been some good economic people talking about the crash for years and years, and these gits in office, in governments, have just been prolonging this because they are the ones with the money. And if you've got money, you can have experiences in life. If you haven't got money, you'll sit at home like these old people have in this country this last 2 weeks, and had to burn their belongings in order to stay alive. If people weren't turned off by the Bible many years ago, perhaps society would be in a better condition today. But you know what? You mention the Bible. Look, you've seen it in the comment section on some of these videos. What happens when you mention the Bible? Oh, we needed this sermon. Eh? You're just like a priest or a rabbi or something else along those lines, lecturing us on, behaviour. You know what? You people out there that have made such comments, you just crack on in your life. And you keep ignoring the fact that you are an individual that can make a change. If you stand next to the shoulders of another individual with like-minded thoughts of you, you can make the changes. But as long as everybody feels powerless in this system, in this day that we're at, nothing will change, and it will continue to get worse. And if you do not recognise the changes that you've seen just with the economy over the last 30 years and thought to yourself, if it continues like this, how long is left before it really falls apart? Well, then you'll know the answer to that already. It isn't too long, is it? And you know, over the last couple of weeks, I've mentioned the grand solar minimum. We've had some people, and they've been elderly people that have experienced many years in the UK of temperature. And what they're saying is, you know, we've had winters worse than this in the 60s. You may well have. But at that point in time, sunspots were healthy. There was plenty of them. And this is the driver of your climate, which you don't understand because this has only recently been found out. You see, you probably along the line still think CO2 is driving climate to a warmer state. You're oblivious to the fact that it's actually going to drive this climate into a cooler state. You are aware of the heliosphere collapsing when the sunspots are at minimum and what that effect has on extra inbound cosmic rays, forming seeding platforms, more cloud in the atmosphere, blocking out more solar radiation, making the planet even cooler. And you throw in on top of that a magnetic reversal, and you can double, triple the results. We are going into a cooler period. We are in a technological advancement. There are a surplus amount of people that can't work because there simply isn't any jobs because of the automation we have created over the last 30 years. It's a mess that has gone. There has been no band-aid put on this open wound. What you think you know about your climate, you really don't know about your climate. I've been pointing out for the last 4 years, over the UK, we're experiencing sundogs in the sky. And that is the result of ice crystals in the atmosphere. And you only get that over the Arctic regions, not at latitudes where we are, at 50 degrees. You know, who's teaching who here? The blind leading the blind. The people that don't see the data are leading the ones that have got all the information. This is where we are. This is why people subscribe to PewDiePie, 66 million. There's the mental capax of the individuals in this world today. And the reason why things have got like this is because of that mentality. Only a handful of people are really interested. Only a handful of people really do care enough to do something about it. You know, I've seen the statistics of a lot of things I could talk about, but I think we have well gone past the point of a lot of people's attention. I'll be surprised if many people that have actually viewed this video have made it to this point. And, I'm not going to go on any further, guys, other than to say this, what I usually do. There's a link down there if you want to support it. If you don't, I'm not really bothered anymore. I don't make a living out of this. I try and help people. I try and, open their eyes to bigger things and try and stretch their horizon beyond the clouds of this planet. And let them know that there's a lot more going on and that they should be grateful. We have a biosphere. For how long that is, when the magnetosphere does collapse during this magnetic reversal, it might change everything. This universe, and Gore, I'm sure you're aware, this universe is a very patient creature. It goes about its evolution in a very natural process. Some things succeed, some things don't. Some dinosaurs become extinct and therefore ends their time on this planet, and those that are more successful enjoy a more prolonged period on this planet. Evolution is really patience. It's got a perfect record of creating the right things, because when you've got the test of time, you end up with, I'm going on a little bit more here, you end up with better crops. You fools that want to mess about with genetically modifying crops think you can do a better job than evolution over millions of years? Really? Well, I think you'll understand when I say that you design a crop that is better for rainy environments, and that's all right until you get a drought in that environment, like in this changing climatic period that we're in right now. And you can design your crops for, a drier climate, but that's okay until they flood out over a rainy period. And then, if you want an intermediate, then you might as well stay with the one that's developed over the course of natural progression over the millions of years, because that's why it is there, because it has lasted the test of time. It has been through the droughts, it has been through the dry periods, the rainy periods, the floods, and it's still there today. So your creation is not any better. Your creation is what has led to the millions, well, no, not millions, let's not exaggerate, but the tens of thousands of deaths of farmers in India because they trusted your product. And I'm talking about Monsanto and their genetically modified crops and all the other disruption that they have caused agriculture on a global scale. Not one of these people will face a day in court for what they have created. Is it no wonder that bees do not want to pollinate on these crops? They know something. I mean, how do we know that our digestive systems even recognise these crops? After all, we've been, tens of thousands of years putting the natural crops in our system, and now we're going to put something that is completely unrecognisable to our digestive system. Is that what is causing, some of the problems with cancers today as a result of that? It could quite likely be. In fact, there have been laboratory tests. How accurately and how clean they was conducted, I don't know, but I've seen rats fed GM crops with cysts, lumps, cancers all over them, and I've seen the same rats in the same tests fed natural foods, and they seem to be healthy. What I'm saying is we have got an unhealthy amount of children in this world that are being diagnosed with autistic traits right now. And I don't know whether that is because now there is a new level of development that detects these things, recognises these traits, or we are just simply, creating these problems. Cancer rates more increased, autistic rates more increased. What's going on? Surely with all this technological advancement we should be in a better position than what we are in today. It doesn't seem to me that in the short term technology has benefited us in any simple way. It has made life more harder for most of us, especially in this era right now. And I really feel for the younger generations, because I know that the majority of them are 30 years old, still living with the parents. Yet, if you go back to the 60s, most of the children had left their home around about the 18 or even earlier mark. So now it's doubled the amount of time they have to stay with the parents, and the reason for that is because they cannot financially support themselves. Governments have been unhealthily not looking at the focal points of, important topics, probably purposely because, or even for the reason that they're not really interested in governance and running countries for the benefit of the people in them countries. They're interested in taking that position and benefiting themselves. If you look at the backgrounds of these people that are in governments, you'll find that they also own businesses. Isn't that a surprise? And will they be richer after serving a term in office? As a Prime Minister, as a President, as a ruler of the country? Will they be more wealthier? And if that is the case, you know, don't you? Guys, it's been emotional. Should I apologise for the rant, or should I say, what I've mentioned in this video has been some use of you? If it has, farewell. All well and good. I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.